My name is Dacia Clay. I'm the audio librarian here at Classical 91.7. While I'm a real librarian, I have a deep, dark secret. I know very little about classical music. I grew up listening to rock, and I know something about jazz. But when it comes to classical, I really want to learn. So, every week on this show, a classical music expert will give me a piece of classical music they think I should know, and then we'll discuss it. Come learn with me in the classical classroom. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Classical Classroom. I'm Dacia Clay, and today with me here in the studio is the Enso Quartet. They're Grammy-nominated. They have been together since 1999. They're based out of New York. We're lucky enough to have them here in Houston because they've been working on some recordings today, which we're actually going to get to in a bit. Do you guys want to go around and introduce yourselves, starting with you, Richard?
Sure. I'm Richard Belcher, the cellist. I'm from New Zealand, and I'm a founding member of the quartet.
I'm Melissa Reardon. I'm the violist in the string quartet, and I live in New York City now, but I'm originally from Massachusetts.
I'm John Marcus, I'm second violinist of the quartet, and I'm originally from New York City, live in New York City, and I joined the quartet actually when they were residents here at Rice in Houston, so Houston is certainly a nice place to come back to every time we get a chance.
Oh, sorry. I'm Maureen Nelson, first violin, and also a founding member of the quartet, and living in New York with the quartet, but I'm originally from Philadelphia, or I'm from Pennsylvania.
So, yeah, you mentioned that you guys were at Rice, and I didn't know that there was such a thing as a quartet in residence. I was looking at that. I had no idea that Rice had a quartet in residence. And when did that first happen?
For us, that first happened in 2002.
2002, and you're coming back this year.
We're coming back in a month for...
It's a visiting residency.
It's just a visiting residency where we're going to do a lot of work with the composition department.
What is
really cool.
What does that entail? Like being a...
That entails a concert. We're going to give a concert of all relatively new music. Mm-hmm. And so written new for us means this concert. The oldest piece was written in the 70s, and the newest is being written right now. So, and then the following day we're going to be doing what's called a composer reading. Mm-hmm. So we have just received some scores from students, I think 7 or 8 students from the Rice Composition School, and we are going to be working on them and recording them for the students.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
that's
a
really
really
neat.
cool thing.
Why, to someone like me, the idea of a string quartet, it makes sense because I've heard of lots of string quartets, but I don't actually know why these 4 instruments or 3 instruments go together so well.
There must be something magic about it. At some point, it locked in as a formation. I think perhaps it might have been Joseph Haydn who really kind of solidified this formation of 2 violins, 1 viola, 1 cello as the string quartet. And I think that we even, when we do children's concerts, refer to him as Papa Haydn because he is the father of the string quartet. He discovered that this blended really well somehow, and it was a good vehicle for composition. And then, after him, Mozart followed, writing string quartets dedicated to Haydn also. And then I think it just became an established form. Mm-hmm.
I think part of that is just the natural range that these particular instruments have, which is very similar to the 4-part choral writing.
Yeah.
So you've got... that's the big thing about string instruments is we're trying to imitate the sound of the voice. That's originally what that big goal is. And so with the violin being so high and like the soprano and all the way down through the middle,
Tenor, bass.
alto, tenor,
Yeah.
through to the cello.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really thought about that
Yeah.
because like I was listening to a piece that Gil Shaham was playing, and like it was just so. In fact, when it first came on, I thought somebody was singing.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit about the fact that, you know, the first instruments that were created to kind of mimic the voice, and so it kind of makes sense that the instruments in a quartet would try to mimic that, and that's how they fit together. Huh. That's very interesting.
And then, of course, because they're all strings, you know, there's a natural
Sonority.
sonority that's, you know, similar.
Sonority, like the sonic, how it fits together.
Yeah.
Like the timbre.
The timbre is
The
the same, you know,
vibration.
quite different than, say, a piano.
Yeah.
The way we can use the bow to draw the sound out, we can really work on that together to do it the same way.
You can articulate it the same
to
way.
make it sound just very similar. Yeah.
There are so many elements. I think one of the things that stands out, of course, is that relationship that you have with the audience, where you can sometimes really feel connection with them. There's a certain energy in the air. You can tell that they're sort of hanging on every phrase, and that's a great thing that can happen in a performance. There's also the excitement of the performance, the energy that you have when you're, you know, getting ready for performance and on stage. And of course, there's the spontaneity of the things that happen in the concert. We rehearse for hours and hours and hours in preparation for performances. And of course, since we're not machines, we do things differently in a performance. And so that spontaneity is exciting, and it's also sort of thrilling. We don't know what's going to happen, and we have to be on our toes to respond to all the new things that could be happening in a performance.
Scary exciting.
Scary exciting, yeah, a little bit.
John, can you tell me about like some crazy stuff that's happened in performances that you've done, or like
I
crazy
remember-
places you've played?
I remember one time. I do remember one time we were playing something. I think
This
we
is
were
gonna be
playing.
good.
It's not that interesting. I mean, but one thing I do remember is that we were playing Janáček, and I had to play something, and I turned the page. My music fell on the floor, and Maureen had a second to pick it up. I remember you managed to pick it up and put it in the right place.
I'm so quick. You hit your face.
Oh, in the same piece. there's this thing where it's like a really fast tremolo for a long time.
It's like sul
Tremolo,
ponticello,
sul
which
pon-
is
so it's like very close and
close to
it
the
has
bridge.
to sound sort of maddening, but it also has to be controlled, obviously.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wind up with a real bang on the nose, because I was doing it and then like it sort of flew off and just totally hit me in the face.
Gotta work on that control, John.
I'm gonna work on the control.
So what did you do?
I just kept on
Just
going.
kept going.
Try
The
not to
show
laugh.
must go on, and I try not to laugh, but I think the others had a good chuckle at it.
Did you guys like have to stifle?
Well, it's
Yeah.
just a little weird,
Good thing
isn't
we're
it?
not
Seeing-
wind players.
Yeah. Or sometimes I think when we do something that we like, all right, I'm going to go for it, and then it's sort of like a little bit too special. And it's sort of like a lot of eyes like, all right.
Won't be doing that next time.
I have the same thing, but I'm not going to copy that.
I'm still waiting for John to pull out the glasses attachment.
Oh, yeah, your glasses
behind
almost-
his head. 'Cause
yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
they look
Sometimes.
so close to falling
Well, there
off.
was one time that a bee actually attacked
Oh.
Maureen.
That's
That was a
right.
good one.
Oh,
Where
it was
were
the
you
beginning of a
performing
piece. It
that
was
you
a.
were-
We were at a place
It
called
was
Maverick. in
it was
upstate New
Maverick.
York.
That's right, and they had a beehive living in something that was on stage.
That's
and
a
they
really cool like tree
exterminate-
trunk
the-
that's turned into a sculpture.
Yeah.
It's a somewhat outdoor.
It's indoor, but it's a barn and its back is open.
Yeah.
So.
So it's
And-
yeah.
Yes. Well, and
Oh,
last
and it
time
was
we were
like
there,
the
there were 3
hottest day.
bears
Of,
outside.
it was like the hottest
that's
day of the summer. I think it was
Yeah, it was pretty
ridiculously
muggy.
hot and muggy. And well, I think that day, I probably had hairspray in my hair to keep it, back. And we started the piece, and there was a bee that just kept coming around my head, and I was like trying to look all artistic and trying to like make it go away.
So you're like dancing
I
and
was
swaying, but actually
I
trying
was
to get
ready
away
to
from
just
the
go
bee.
like, ah!
Well, it ended up on your finger at some point.
Oh, it was having a good old time. Yeah.
Oh my
But I kept
God.
playing, and it was a really quiet Haydn, right? It was Opus 20 number 4, like boom, 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 and there's like this forte outburst, and I was like, like shook my hand. I think eventually it went away.
So you're using like the strong parts of the music to try to
That's
escape
right.
from the beat. That's great. What's your favorite sort of venue to play in as a quartet? What's most suited?
Actually, we like-
tend to be really fun.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we do house concerts, and that's you're talking about that.
Yeah, it's well, as Melissa said earlier, the connection with the audience is a big part of the excitement.
Yeah.
And so when you can be close, I mean, there are bigger halls that you can also still feel close to the audience. So I would say any hall that you get that connection, where you feel the audience just enough to, give it an edge.
Mm-hmm.
But
Generally, halls that have, a certain amount of reverberation in them are satisfying to play in. It gives your sound this kind of glow or some resonance to your sound, and that's always more satisfying than playing in a really dry space. And so I think ideal hall setting would be like a smaller hall that you can connect with the audience, and then it has this kind of warm, resonant sound. That's satisfying.
I heard too, jumping around, that you guys were going to be making a music video.
yeah,
Are there going to be like busty ladies in bikinis, and
Yes, me,
Just
and
these two.
Melissa.
hot cars
Men.
and stuff?
I don't know about that yet. We can always work on it.
So what's it? You said this was going to be like your fourth video. What's it like to do a video shoot? Because
fun.
you're
What we're
like-
trying to do is create a video performance that gets inside the quartet, so
Yeah.
that it brings to the viewer something that they can't see from a live performance. So we'll be making a video shot with lots of different angles, just so that people can see how we interact with the quartet. And we've got a couple up on YouTube already that you can see.
Cool.
And yeah, it's fun. It's just hopefully a different experience for the audience to see how we interact.
Yeah, you sort of get the view as you would be if you were in the quartet. So there might be a shot
Right.
from the angle of somebody sitting over here looking at Richard or Maureen, and then it sort of feels like you're inside the quartet. And I think that's a perspective
cool.
that could be interesting for the viewer.
There was some GoPro video that I saw online where they actually had like a GoPro attached to the end of a violin, and so as they were performing, you were like looking right down.
Oh, wow.
So neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I know that you guys have been recording today a piece by Kurt Stallman, who has also been on the Classical Classroom, that was inspired by a piece by Schubert. It was the Quartet in C minor, the Quartet number 12 in C minor. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know the words. I don't know what order they go in.
The Schubert, yes. It's actually referred to as Quartett-Satz because it's a quartet movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's referred to that because it's actually unfinished. It's he only wrote a little beginning of the second movement, and that's it. So he left it unfinished. So there's
Well, normally there would be 4 different movements.
a set. Yeah.
There'd be a slow movement, and then a light-hearted one, and then a flashy one to
something
finish
like
up with. So,
But this is a
we've just-
standalone work,
Yeah.
Quartett-Satz, and he never completed the.
I think it's an incredible movement, and that's why it's played so often, and we know it so well. It's had a huge life in the quartet repertoire over the years.
Is it something that's common or?
Yes, it's one of the sort of standard pieces in the classical repertoire for the string quartet.
So this is something that if I were a violinist, I would be playing it.
probably, yeah. If you were in a string quartet, you would probably be familiar with this movement for sure.
So we kind of got into discussions with Kurt, like about perhaps writing something to pair with the Schubert, since it's an unfinished work. And what Kurt ended up coming up with was really interesting. He took, I mean, from my perspective, it's like he took the Quartett-Satz and kind of put it through a kaleidoscope, 21st century, I guess now we're talking about, and like gave it like a kind of modern edge to it.
Just to clarify, I read that you guys actually commissioned Kurt to write this piece. So you did you say to him, take this Schubert piece and do something with it?
Yeah, well, we should thank Chamber Music America. They provided the grant money for this, which was fantastic. And so, yeah, the whole idea was we knew that we wanted to start with Quartett-Satz, and we wanted Kurt to write a piece that somehow was a response or a reflection on the Schubert work. And then, as Maureen was saying, he made some changes, and just very small changes. Amazing, this tiniest change creates a whole different world of sound. So the opening figure, he added one note extra, so it goes up one half step extra, and then occasionally he'd add one note longer to a phrase, and it just totally transforms the piece. It's quite amazing. So the cool thing about that is we got like a brand new version of Quartett-Satz, the same structure, and just like a different language of it though. And I should say one of the things that we've always wanted to do as a quartet and made an effort to do from when we got started is to have a good range, a well-balanced range of repertoire, including some of the classics that sort of draw us into being a string quartet in the first place, but also to keep working on new pieces so that we're really expanding the canon, as it were.
Yeah, I was reading that you guys are kind of into playing sort of lesser known works by the composers that we know and love, and then also
there are a lot of composers that we've found have written amazing pieces that don't feature prominently. One recent example is one by Richard Strauss, which I've never heard of anyone playing. I know people have played it before, but certainly I'm not aware of any big groups have recorded it or haven't heard any performances. But we saw that he'd written a quartet and we thought, well, he's a great composer, we should look into that. And then we ended up recording it. We loved it. It's a terrific piece. And I think that was a really cool thing for us to do, to work on a piece that none of us had heard. So we didn't have an idea in our head of how it should go, and that's very much like how we have to approach brand new pieces, where it's a lot more creative in a way. We have to come up with it ourselves. Whereas any piece that we've heard before, like the Beethoven quartets or Mozart or whatever it might be, we have a sense of how it should go, You know, like if I say to you Beethoven wrote a Fifth Symphony, you probably know how that starts and you've got an idea in your head of how it should go. But the cool thing is trying to bring that approach to these pieces that we know and love is to try to look at them with really fresh ears. And I think that helps keep everything really exciting all the time.
Sort of playing these lesser known pieces allows you to kind of bring your own flavor as a musician to it without hearing that sort of, you know, performance that you've heard over and over again. And
then we can apply that same practice to the pieces that we've all heard a lot.
I'm interested in how you guys got together. You met at Yale and formed there. I know there are a lot of string quartets out there. What kind of made you guys say we should do this thing because we have something special to bring? What was it that prompted you, John?
Well, I was actually I think Richard and Maureen, but since they sort of started at Yale, but I know for me, and I'm sure for all of us, playing chamber music is really, especially for any instrument possible, it's but strings in particular, the music, the repertoire that we get to play, especially in quartets, is really some of the most special music that composers have written. It has gone through, all of our favorite composers have basically written all throughout their life string quartet music, and it really is it's a great, it shows their development, it shows a lot of their interest in experimenting, and also some of their greatest works, you know, and that goes from Haydn all the way, you know, to Bartók, to Britten, Shostakovich, and people today writing, Elliott Carter. I think there's something very special about string quartet writing, and I'm sure that all four of us feel very special to be able to play in a string quartet for that reason and many others. So that was one of the reasons I loved playing chamber music, and I love being in a quartet, but I'm sure the others have also other personal answers for that as well.
Yeah, Richie, you look like you have something to add to that.
Sure. Well, exactly what John said, but I think for me personally, that was part of the attraction of going to Yale. That's when I first came over to the States to do my master's in cello, and the Tokyo String Quartet was coaching chamber music there, and back home I had played quite a lot of piano trios, and there weren't many violists at the school I was at, and so I really wanted to play quartets, not knowing that would be what I'm doing now, but it was certainly something that I wanted to do and just be a part of. So when I arrived, we had placement auditions for orchestra and chamber music, and the coordinator asked if I was interested in playing quartet, and I jumped at that. And the first violin was Maureen, and we were really lucky. I feel really lucky that we connected really well musically, and even though I don't know if I said much to Maureen in the first year, outside of rehearsals. But it was just it was something that was really exciting for us, and at the end of the first year, we opted to carry on playing in the same quartet the following year, and then we started getting some concerts outside of the university setting, and that was really exciting, just getting that taste of what it could be like. And then we were encouraged to stay together beyond graduation, which we did, and that's where the graduate residency type thing came in very helpful for us. Firstly, in Illinois, we went to a 2-year course to study with the Vermeer Quartet. And that was kind of an amazing experience. I feel like my ears really opened up. And then we came down here to Rice University, where they have a phenomenal string quartet program where you can actually get a master's degree in string quartet playing.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity it was for us. So you really get to focus on working as a group, which is quite different. It's a different skill set, really, than playing your instrument by itself. So it's a lot of fun.
Where are you guys going from here? I know you've just recorded Kurt's piece, and like, what's next?
Next, you've got me.
Well, I know you're gonna be in Rice doing this
In March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before that, we're going to be in Iowa for a couple of concerts.
New York.
We've got a really cool program that we're doing with the Boston Brass Quintet, all based on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So we'll be doing that in a couple of places in Iowa, and playing in New York, a program with some Italian music and a couple of New Zealand pieces as well, which is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And your general plan for world domination?
Yeah, we're hoping to take over by the end of the year.
It's happening. We're just
I feel it. I feel the magic.
We're working
in this room right now. You guys, thank you so much for taking time to be on the Classical Classroom. I know you've been recording all day, and probably there was traveling before that, so really appreciate it. Now I've enjoyed getting kind of a look into what it's like to be in a quartet, and I can't wait to hear more of your music. I listened to some today. It was very cool.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everyone, that's it for this episode of Classical Classroom. Don't forget that my New Year's resolution is to go out and see more classical music shows. I would love to come and see all of the shows, but as it turns out, I don't have that much time. So if you would like for me to come to your show, please go to classical917.org/classroom, and there are instructions awaiting you on that page to tell you how to submit your plea for me to come to your show. And we've got some good ones for you to listen to. And remember, if you would like to hear past episodes of Classical Classroom, or you'd like to see what's coming up on the show, go to classical917.org/classroom, and a veritable cornucopia of information awaits you there. If you have any questions or comments, or want to hear a classical music question that you have addressed on the show, send me an email at dclay@classical917.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.